All right, baby, guess where I'm taking you today?
Hopefully someplace where it's not raining.
No, I'm going to take you to a place that smells like maple syrup and oatmeal.
Well, that sounds like some hopes and dreams. Let's do it.
Yeah, and also the place we're going to go to had a squirrel invasion in 1970.
Okay, well, let's go to this place.
Where are we taking everybody to?
We're going to Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Put your seatbelts on.
Because here we go.
This is RV Destinations Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the RV Destinations Podcast. I am Randy Beheimer here with my lovely and talented wife, Caly Beheimer, also known as CJ Kane.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really excited because our book is now available for order. My book, which is American Echo. You can go out there to Amazon and order it now and leave me a great review, please. It's what us indie authors rely on. I just got all my own copies. I'm autographing them and sending them out to people. But again, American Echo, I'm under the name Knox Legend, which is my granddaughter's name, actually. And so I'm posing as her. But anyway, welcome to the show. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast from whatever platform you are listening to us from, and if you're listening on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going out to the Midwest, which is something we don't normally do. And I'm excited because I feel like we've got a little bit...
We've got
a
east,
shortcoming.
we've got west, but there's not a whole lot in the middle.
Yeah, so we're going to concentrate as much as we can on some cool Midwestern destinations. But anyway, today we're talking about what?
We're talking about Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and we need to first loop Carrie Hanrahan in with us.
Yes.
So we've got Carrie Hanrahan with us today.
Hey,
and for everybody that has been with us for a while, you guys know Carrie. You love Carrie. So hi, Carrie.
Hi, guys. How are you today?
We're good. How are you doing?
Cold and wet, which, shouldn't be in South Carolina, but it is. So,
right.
Hopefully it improves next week.
Yeah. Same here. It is cold and wet and gray. In fact, nobody wanted to get out of bed this morning because it was still pitch black at almost 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like, nah.
Well, you can't say that because people are like, you didn't get out of bed till 8 o'clock.
I can totally say that.
I got out of bed at 7, which is actually late for me.
Your alarm went off at 7.
Well, that's
you
true.
Didn't get out of bed.
I got out at 7:15. So.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Close enough.
But it does. It
Right.
does. As it's staying darker and darker in the morning, you just want to sleep in. But anyway, we got to keep on track with the new format. So you're going to ask me about my opener.
The squirrel invasion. What is up with the squirrel invasion in Cedar Rapids?
I just had to bring that up because it sounded hilarious. It once had a squirrel problem so big it made national news in the late 1970s. And I'm reading this right off of the website, and I don't see the website here, but Cedar Rapids made national headlines for a squirrel invasion after a mild winter boosted their population. City workers were reportedly setting humane traps across downtown parks to get rid of the squirrels. Now, what they did with them, I don't know, because if it's humane, that means they weren't. That doesn't necessarily mean they weren't killing them.
Right. They just humanely caught them.
Humane way. And then let me make the connection with the smell of oats and syrup. Quaker Oats has a big factory downtown there. In fact, it's one. If you ever have driven through it, you see it every single time. I see it, and they have these big silos, and I'm always like, is that filled with oats every time I go by it? I imagine it probably is, but I don't know that for sure. But it's one of the largest cereal plants in the world.
Wow.
Local people call it the smell of home because you smell maple syrup and oats.
Now, okay,
every
so
day.
we drove through Cedar Rapids on the way out to wherever we would take the Winnebago.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now I remember seeing that.
Not Forest River.
That place.
Yeah.
That place we used to go.
Anyway, wherever Winnebago is,
Right.
it's somewhere in Iowa. It's blanking right now. But anyway, let's dive into Cedar Rapids and some of the things to do. And I was kind of surprised at some of the cool things that are in this area. So I'm excited to talk about it. So stay tuned with us here and listen to everything we got.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carrie, when we were offline, you talked about, you wrote an article on Cedar Rapids that's going to be coming out soon, and you divided the city into 4 different areas. So let's just tackle this podcast that way. And one of the ones that you mentioned was the district. So tell us about the district, what it is, what you can see there, what you can do there, and what there is to experience.
Yeah, Cedar Rapids is a super cool little town, and the district is a big part of that. I'm from Wisconsin, so I'm a Midwestern girl. Cedar Rapids is, an area I am familiar with, and for a lot of people, it actually is a great either destination or side trip because the Amana Colonies is only 25 minutes away. So if you visit that area, which is a large tourist attraction, I would definitely either tack on Cedar Rapids or go to Cedar Rapids and tack on the Amana colonies that way. So it's a great destination because there's more there. But the district itself it actually touches home for me. It is made up of what's called the Czech Village and New Bohemia. And I am Czechoslovakian and Bohemian. So for me, that's a cool place to go to. And mainly because they have in the Czech Village side of it. So the district is divided by the Cedar River. So the Czech Village is on one side and the New Bohemia is on the other side of the river. And this area actually had been majorly devastated in a flood. So Cedar Rapids has lived through three major floods, 1851, 1993, and 2008. And the 2008 flood was actually very, very devastating to this area. That whole new Czech Village and New Bohemia area was pretty much wiped out, which, for an area like the size of Cedar Rapids is huge. It was 14% of the town. So It was enormous. And in this Czech Village area is a Smithsonian museum, and it is called the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library, and it's huge. And one thing that happened because of the flood is they actually had to relocate it and build up ground higher so that it would be safe in the future if the river ever flooded again, because a lot of damage had been done to the museum, but they have brought it back. It is stunning. It's huge. It was great fun for me to go in to see all of the exhibits, the heritage clothing and the food, just all kinds of things. I walked in and felt like I was at home. I felt like I was in my grandma's house because so many things were so familiar to me. So it's an incredible museum to go to. And if you happen to be, Czech or Slovak, they have an incredible library that if you want to do history, genealogy, anything like that, it is cool. So it highly, highly, highly recommend going there in the Czech Village area. And then on that side of the river, then just a few steps from there is a single 3-block street, but you can find, some authentic Czech stores that have product from the country. There's a place called Lion Bridge Brewery that I enjoyed some pierogies and things at. So that side is, it's a lot of fun to just hang out, really feel like yourself is immersed in a lot of culture there, and then cross over the bridge, go to the New Bohemia area, and that has a different feel to it. It's definitely coming back big time from the flood in 2008, and they have built up new businesses. There's great restaurants to go to, and there is a place that I highly recommend, and it's the New Bo. Hang on. Let me get the correct name of it because I don't want to screw it up. Hang on here. Oh, here it is. The New Bo City Market. What's so cool about the New Bo City Market is it's an incubator. So it is an incubator for restaurants and stores. And so when you go into this place, it's a food hall essentially, but then there's also markets in the middle of it. And these are all people who are getting support at trying their idea of being a restaurant or a store. So it's a really cool place to be. And then outside they have, festivals and music in the summertime. And then again, just explore the area there because there is just all kinds of shops and great places to eat and stuff. So, and again, history. There's a lot of history in that area because of, the heritage that is there. So the district is I really say it's a core area to Cedar Rapids. That is a destination area for a lot of people when they're traveling there.
Now, you also said there's a big art scene there too, as well. Is there a lot of different art things? Now, is that American Gothic? What goes on there in the art scene?
Yeah, definitely. Art is huge in Cedar Rapids. They are famous for their own hometown boy, Grant Wood, who, if you don't know who that is, and you do know the picture of American Gothic, that was his. And he had his studio right there in Cedar Rapids, and you can actually go visit the studio and see where he did his painting and his work. And then Cedar Rapids Museum of Art is stunning. I was actually blown away. I wasn't expecting what I saw when I walked in. It is they have 7,800 works of art within there and mainly focus on American artists. And they have a huge collection of Grant Wood artwork. And so it was fascinating to me to walk through, see all the beautiful artwork. And then he also had a good friend there, Marvin Cohn, who also has a lot of work in the museum also. So that, if you're into that type of style of artwork, and even others, because obviously, like I said, there's a lot of artwork there, but not just the museum. The city itself is immersed in that. They have a great mural walking tour. You can go online and download a map that shows you, I think it's like 21 works approximately, that you can walk around town, find all these wonderful artworks that are on their map, but then not on the map are tons of things too. I mean, on one of the bridges crossing the Cedar River, there is probably about a 5-foot tall Statue of Liberty just there that was donated, I believe, by the Boy Scouts. So,
neat.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And then visit the Veterans Museum also that is out on Mays Island. In there is the largest work of art by Grant Wood. It is a stained glass piece that is in the building, and it is like 24 feet by 20 feet. And it is a stunning piece of work. So, wander around the whole town. There is artwork everywhere. Which surprised me. I guess I really didn't, I had heard that they had art there, but I didn't realize how much is there, and they have the old Paramount Theater. So if you want to do that kind of art, you can go see shows at the theater. So definitely explore the art scene in Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, I've popped up a few pictures for those that are wondering what's the American Gothic. I had to Google it myself. That is of the farmer couple, the guy with a pitchfork. And everybody's
really?
like, yeah, that one. And everybody's like, oh, okay. So for everybody listening in on the podcast versus watching it, and then this stained glass window is unreal. Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous. It is huge. It literally takes up this massive, probably 2-story wall, and it's incredible. So that's super fun. Super fun. I love hearing that. When it's time to put your jacks down on your RV, you want to make sure you have a strong, flat surface to support your rig. Ox Blox are the strongest trailer jack blocks on the market. Made with 100% recycled plastic, Ox Blox offer trailer jack blocks to fit a variety of jacks for RVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, utility trailers, and more. Whether you have post jacks, stabilizer jacks, wheel jacks, scissor jacks, or pad jacks, Ox Blox provides a stackable, versatile, and sturdy solution. Offering a lifetime warranty and made in the USA, Ox Blox are your trailer jack solution. Visit myoxblox.com and use code RVD to save 10% on your purchase of Ox Blox trailer jack blocks. So it sounds like there's a lot of history in this town too. So tell us some about the history of the town.
Yeah, again, a lot of Midwestern areas, I think, sometimes get, I don't want to say, people don't pay attention to a lot of the history that happens there. I feel a lot of times it's, more in the South because you hear of, the Revolutionary War and all these different things. But every area in the United States obviously has a great history. And a lot of, the history began, if you go to the museum, obviously that is a great place to find out about the culture that's in that area, with the Czech and Slovakian culture that's there. But they make it a little easier for you. They have something they call signs throughout town. There are 74 of them, and each sign says history happened here. And so, like, I went to a mosque, and in front of the mosque is a history happened here sign, and it's the information about what that building was, the history of it and everything. So if you're traveling with kids, I think this would be a really fun project for you to do, find a map or, look up the different history happened here. Since there are 74 different historical markers, you could probably take a whole day traveling, the city. and finding all these markers in the history that are there. So, that's one way they do it. But then they also have created a area called the Ushers Ferry Historic Village, just kind of a little bit on the edge of town, but it is a reconstructed historic village of what it would have been like in the old days, in an Iowa town. So it's kind of a neat place to go. They will have programs probably more geared towards kids, but I found the buildings very fascinating, and it was just interesting to see again what it would have looked like there years ago. So yeah, tons of history there. And just depending how you look at it, it's either heritage wise or, Grant Wood, that's the history there too. You can go into, like I said, his studio, but there is also a small museum, which unfortunately was closed when I was there. So I didn't get to pop into that and see that. But tons of history in the area just to explore and learn more about the Midwest.
That's fantastic.
It's funny. I went down a seriously deep rabbit hole while you guys were talking, and I apologize, especially if I repeat anything. So, I've always in my head thought when you say Bohemian, I've always thought Jamaica because of Rastafarian Bohemian. Yeah. And then when I looked it up and I'm researching here, I see it is in fact from Czechoslovakia. In fact, it was part of the Roman Empire. It started. The Kingdom of the Holy Roman Empire, and then later became part of Czechoslovakia back in 1918, it looks like, somewhere around there, till 1993 when the wall came down and so forth. But now it's the Czech Republic. But anyway, so there was, just like in Cedar Rapids, there was this group that migrated to Jamaica and some of the islands, which brought that Bohemian culture and traditions to the island of Jamaica and some of the other islands, but it sounds like it, and I didn't read very much deeper past that, but it sounds like it kind of mixed with the Rastafarian kind of, and that's what gives that kind of culture in Jamaica, which is very interesting to me. Anyway, sorry I digress, but I had to get that clear in my mind. So Bohemian is just somebody that's coming from Czechoslovakia, and it looks like it's actually the western region specifically of the Czech Republic. So for all those that are interested in that, well, now you know.
Now you know. Now you know.
Yeah, and that's what, the museum is great about, really explaining, all of that. They have an immigrant home on the property that you can go into, see what they lived in. It really, if it's of interest of heritage type things for you to learn. I remember my mom always saying that, when her family had come over, she still had a grandmother who spoke Czech, and she knew when she was in trouble because the only part she could understand was her name.
Exactly. So on the Cedar Rapids Tourism Bureau site, it says that Cedar Rapids, what they claim is Cedar Rapids has the most Czech ancestry than anywhere in the world except Prague.
Wow.
So that just kind of gives you the, assuming that that's an accurate statement, I'm just pulling it right off their website, but that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's really cool. And even if you're not Czech or have ancestry there, it sounds like a pretty cool town to go explore. But there's also a lot of outdoor activities. If you're not into history, you're not into the Czech ancestry. Tell us a little bit about what there is to do outdoors there.
Yeah. Again, so many areas now are embracing kind of like their downtown, if they have a river area kind of scene. And Cedar Rapids has done a great job with that too. Again, doing a lot of rebuilding since that 2008 flood. So they've really taken the area like along the river, has a great trail system that you can just walk along, enjoy the scenery. And there's an amphitheater there right along the river and all kinds of stuff right downtown, which is really cool. If you go all the way one end to the other down the river, at the end, you can see this big hill. And I was kind of like, that's interesting. So, wandered down that way. Well, it's actually called Mount Trashmore. And I know there's multiple Mount Trashmores actually in the United States, but the Cedar Rapids one. But this one actually is a park now. It was where an old landfill essentially, and unfortunately they had to actually open this old landfill after the flood and filled it with like 430 tons more garbage from flood. They recapped it and then created this great park. So it has hiking trails, some cycling trails, an incredible overlook over the city and the river and everything. So it's a fun spot to, wander that trail system along the river, go all the way down to Mount Trashmore, walk to the top, and you get just a panoramic view, which is gorgeous. So there's that area, but then they have like 106 parks within their park system. So there's all kinds of parks to go to. I enjoyed going to just a handful, of different ones that you can explore. They have the Indian Creek Nature Center, Old McDonald's Farm. Ellis Park is kind of cool because it's on the edge of town, and on the river there actually is a houseboat village. So people live in their houseboats on the river. So you can kind of go and see that area, which is kind of, just something different and neat to see. But then if the nature part of outdoors maybe isn't what you're after that much, go to a Colonel's baseball game. So they have what they call the Colonels, of course, for corn. Mr. Shucks is their mascot.
All shucks.
Yeah, all shucks. And they are a Class A Midwest League team. So they have a nice stadium to go to, so if you're looking more for the sports that way, I believe they do have a hockey team too. I actually didn't investigate that a little bit more, but I think I did read that somewhere else. So there are some sporting things to do too. So, when we say Midwest, a lot of people are like, the Midwest.
Right.
There. If you dig in a little bit, it's amazing what you can find. And I was thrilled with Cedar Rapids. I had been through it before. Obviously, like I said, I've lived in the region, essentially. I had been to Amana Colonies, but taking this side trip there was so worth it. I actually drove from my campsite 2 different days to go back into Cedar Rapids to explore. And it was, just a fun way to get around. There's plenty of museums too for outdoorsy kind of things if you want to do that. So enjoy.
So speaking of campgrounds, where did you stay?
I think it's called the Amana Colonies Campground.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so it
Okay.
literally is probably about 25 minutes from Cedar Rapids, but they don't have a trail from the campground to the Amana Colonies, but you could walk there if you wanted to. It's probably about a mile or so. But yeah, easy distance that way. And again, you're just driving through the country. Nothing difficult to have to pull a rig through or anything. So that's the one thing that's nice. In the city itself, I would probably recommend leaving my rig somewhere, and just bringing your vehicle into town just to make it easier on yourself. I mean, there is plenty of parking in areas and stuff, but I truthfully don't know how large most of it would be if you're trying to bring, a travel trailer with you.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I pulled up I see you pulled it up too, babe, but looking at there's a lot of campgrounds in the area.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And for those that are curious about the Amana Colonies, that podcast was episode 68.
And we did an article in the magazine.
We did.
I don't remember what issue that was from, but if you have the digital subscription, you can go and read more in depth. Our articles are by far the most in depth when it comes to information about the area, but the podcast gives you more of a general overview of why you want to go. But getting to the campground, there's a lot in the general area. I pulled these up, and they're in no specific order, but there is a KOA there called Waterloo Lost Island, Wenatee Park Campground, Morgan Creek Park, Beyonder Gateway at Sleepy Hollow.
Ooh, okay.
And all these are kind of outskirts of it. Looks like Cedar Rapids. Looks like I don't see any actually inside of Cedar Rapids.
No, and a lot of them look like, from what I'm seeing, like what I would say a traditional campground, like maybe in a state park or regional park, which would make a lot of sense because, like Carrie, you said, there's over 106 parks in the area, so there's probably a lot of smaller campground type parks.
Yeah. And as usual, what you see very frequently, the state parks got some of the best reviews, and that's usually because they charge $10 a night. And but yeah, like Kent Park is one that got 4.7 stars out of almost 800 reviews, and that's pretty common. There's a Lake McBride State Park that got 4.6 out of 2,000 reviews. So. And then a Palisades Kepler State Park, which got 4.7 stars out of 1.6 thousand reviews. So lots of reviews for the state park. So lots of different options. But well, awesome. Well, what's going on in your world, Carrie? Where are you going to next?
Actually, I haven't planned anything for a little bit. I think I've taken a little bit of a brain break, which occasionally I need. But no, I'm working on probably something when I'm traveling. I'm hoping in January to head down. Actually, I am a huge hometown fan from our, HGTV show. So I am planning a trip to Laurel, Mississippi. And
fun!
Yeah, and then I'm going to continue down actually to Houston. My folks rent a place down there in the winter, so I'm going to kind of do like a 2-week trip and enjoy my way down and throw a little HGTV in there on the way.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Well, awesome. Well, don't forget about Carrie Hanrahan is a professional photographer. She's got a website where you sell your images on the website, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is it carriehanrahanphotography.com?
It is. Yep.
Okay. Well, awesome. And we'll put a link down in the notes section there if you want to link over and see her website. But she's got a lot of beautiful images. If you need that image for that specific place, I don't know if she, requires you to sign any kind of disclosures or anything like that. But if you have a need for a picture, you want to do a print or something like that, go to our website and check it out. So you want to take us out, babe?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add before I take it out that, if you do want to make a nice little trip out of this, so issue 24 had the full article of Amana colonies, and then episode 68 on the podcast and YouTube is all about Amana colonies as well. And then we have that out on our website for a top 10. So, and then the Cedar Rapids, Iowa will be out on our website as well with the top 10. So it's just a great way to make a little trip to that area.
When you also did an article on Cedar Rapids too, didn't you?
I did. Yep.
Okay. I don't know when that's scheduled for, but we do have one coming up, and we'll let everybody know that once we know that. So.
Yep. Now I will take us out.
Right, take us out,
now,
baby.
Officially. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Carrie, so much for joining us today. We always appreciate you. Always appreciate having you on.
Of course, I love being here.
Awesome. And thank you all out there for joining us in here today on this kind of rainy day in Kentucky. Hopefully not much longer. We're heading south soon. And wherever you listen to our podcast, make sure that you are subscribing to and reviewing the podcast for us. It really, really helps us out. Don't forget we're out on YouTube now. I know I've been saying that for a while, but you'd be amazed how many people forget. And it's a great way to see our happy, shiny faces. So get out there on YouTube, check us out. Don't forget about our website. We have got so much great free free RV travel content out at our website at rvdestinationsmagazine.com. We are still working diligently behind the scenes to bring something to you guys that I think is going to absolutely blow your socks off. So be patient with us. It's coming down the pipeline very, very soon. Don't forget, if you use that code podcast20, podcast20 at checkout when you subscribe to any of our magazines, you're going to save 20% off, which is pretty amazing. So we just want to thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Be safe.
Safe travels, y'all.